So I'm here again with Coach Miller, Coach Gabel, head football coach, head wrestling coach. And last time we kind of talked about your guys' history, how you came here. But now let's kind of talk about your time here at Pine Creek, coaching for a while. So you guys must have some crazy coaching stories, one could say, at your 22 years here. So you guys have some crazy coaching stories?
I got a football and a wrestling. Does it have to be coaching too? Well, let's go with coaching.
Let's go.
So, I coached football for 9, 10 years, and I used to when I was younger. 46 right now. When I was way younger, I thought I was invincible. I was the JV coach, and one practice a year. Towards the end of the season, I would play quarterback, and this is when Todd was running an option system. He doesn't run option anymore, but he's running an option system, and I'm like, okay, guys, and you got to understand that I had 65, 70 kids out for wrestling, and half of those were probably football players. I got quite a few now too, but I was actually coaching there. I could do the active recruiting, the head coach and assistant coach for football. So I had all of these kids on JV, and I would be like, okay, I'm going to be quarterback. You're fully padded. This is one chance. One day of the year you can hit me as hard as you want. Like, we're going to go full-fledged. So we literally played a game where I'm quarterback running the option, and I remember Scally. Remember Matt Scally?
Matt Scully.
Matt Scally and I hit.
He's a teacher now.
You a teacher?
I think so. I think in District 20 also.
I'm not sure what to believe about it. Oh, that's awesome. I like it. Good job, Matt. Well, anyways, him and I hit head to helmet on the goal line. On the goal line. And split my head open. And I scored. And I think today I probably would not be coaching anymore after that one. You're going to hurt the kids.
Yeah, I don't know why you're telling the story, actually.
I don't know. Anyways, yeah, split my eye. I got a scar right here to prove it. Split my head open, but I scored, and we won the game. And then I'll let you tell one why I think if I want to tell that second one in wrestling. I'm not sure it's a little more dangerous.
I got a pretty good one. We were at Falcon High School. We were playing Falcon, and we were in the midst of I don't know. It was we were in our 20s in a win streak. Tommy Lazaro was our quarterback. We had JoJo Doman, Jack Wibbles, Cason Allen. It was like they ended up. I think we lost we won. We won the state title that year.
No, that's a group of animals.
Yep.
Like purebred, born in the wild animals.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're getting beat late in the fourth quarter. And I want to say we turned it over on downs, and so Falcon had the ball in our territory, and they were up by 1 point. Well, anyways, long story short, Craig Dolman, who was on our staff, came up to me and he said, the only way we're going to win is if we let them score. It was probably 3rd and 7 or something like that, and they had the ball on hour 35, so they had a ways to go. And I can't do that. This ain't Madden football. I'm not going to let them score and then us try to get the ball back and go down and score. And essentially, we're going to have to get a 2-point conversion just to tie it. So we argued about it. We called timeout, and we really argued about it as a staff, and we did it. So the next play, they snap the ball, and our defense just goes to the sideline, and they go right down, and they score. They kicked the extra point to put them up by 8. And Tommy had not had a very good game that game. And I had said some probably pretty naughty things to him during the game. I don't...
Naughty or nice.
Yeah.
Close to Christmas.
But he came up to me and he goes, we're going to get this done. Okay. And we had less than 2 minutes left in the game, and he took us down, and we completed. We got a touchdown, and then we got the 2-point conversion. We went to overtime, and we won it. and it was in the midst of a long win streak and ended up winning the state title that year. Went back out to Falcon and beat them in the semis, but it's one of those things where you think can't happen, it happened. But I think, again, it was, I didn't want to listen to the truth, but the truth is what we had to do. So we had to put the kids in a tough situation, and I think last week I said, in the chaos, can you think clearly? And, our egos got in the way a little bit, but we were able to come up with a decision that at least gave us a chance. You know what I mean? We can have it's a good story because it worked out. But what if it didn't work out? It was still the right choice. So it gave us a chance to be successful. And I think sometimes you gotta take a chance. You know what I mean?
Do you think this is kind of have push your coaching style a little bit more, or has that play changed your coaching style throughout these recent years?
Yeah, I think it's willing to listen to other coaches. I don't know everything, and there's other guys on the staff, and there's other people in your life that, they may be real dingleberries, but they may have a good point, and I think that's what you try to kind of sift through all that, you have I don't know, but I think about inner circles, guys you really rely on, right? They're in your circle, and when they say something, you listen. But there's guys that aren't on that circle, or women, whatever it may be, whatever sport you may be coaching, whatever, that have extremely valid points, but they may not have the longevity or the credibility, exactly. But they may have a good point, and you got to listen to that and sift through some of that. I guess the long story short, your ego can't get in the way, right?
I'm curious what a dingleberry is. Don't explain it. Don't explain.
They can search it on their own.
It's an Indiana term for sure. Yeah, you can Wikipedia that thing up.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Interesting.
So, did you want to tell your?
Oh, you know what? It's another funny one. I got another shout out to Bissell. I'm not gonna say your first name. For protection, I actually remember. Oh gosh, it was a while back. 10 years ago. I walk out of the locker room, into the hallway, the restroom, the weight room, and everybody's in there. I mean, all the students are in there, and I can't get out. And I work my way out, and I'm stepping into about 2 inches deep of soap water. I'm like, what the heck? And I look around, and all of a sudden, from the right side of my eye, I look down the hallway, and I'm seeing
peripheral vision.
Bissell in just his whitey-tighties seal sliding all the way down the hallway in 2 inches of soap water. And I'm looking down, it hits me. I got 5 or 6 wrestlers that are in their whitey-tighties seal sliding all the way down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's a mess. I mean, the whole hallway from the beginning to the end is 2 inches of soap water. And I'm thinking, and we're right in the middle of the season, and I'm thinking, man, am I going to be able to have these guys get suspended? I'm not going to have a team this weekend. But the administration at the time was really, really cool, and they actually sort of laughed it off. As long as you clean it up, we're okay. So, yeah, Bissell's. I think it was a senior prank. That was a pretty good one.
Did they make it from end to end, or?
No, they didn't get suspended. They cleaned up everything.
I know, but whenever they were doing the seal slide, did they go from door to door? Or
oh yeah, it went all the way down. All the way down. I mean, hitting the. But these guys, they used to play shower hockey. Shower hockey. They would block off the showers so the water would fill up and literally play with the soap. It was just weird. You guys were seriously different. I mean, bred and born different. Just saying. But shout out to you, huh? Pretty crazy. That's almost as crazy as the time when we showed up. When we first got hired, we showed up in the 7 in the morning, and Steve Moran. If you ever listen to this, Steve, this is pretty funny. I mean, you're probably not at the time because you were calling chickens names like crazy, but we walk in the cafeteria, and Steve Moran's in there chasing around a bunch of chickens that seniors brought in the night before as a senior prank, and they let like 15 chickens out in the cafeteria, and he's yelling at these chickens and trying to kick them and get before school started. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Sorry, that was another side. But I would have to second what Todd said.
Well, the other good one was he used to always come on the loudspeaker.
Love you guys.
And he'd have words of affirmation, or he'd get after the whole student body. And you remember when they had mouses?
Oh my gosh, mouse balls.
Well, people were taking the mouse balls out of the
Computer mouse.
the rollers, right? So you roll
Yeah.
the mouse, and they were throwing it through the ceiling.
It would stick in the ceiling.
And so he went off telling everybody they better leave the mouse balls away.
Don't be touching my mouse balls.
On the loudspeaker during the day.
Oh,
And
yeah.
only Steve could do that. And it was appropriate, but it was pretty funny.
Did the mouse balls like roll around? And
No, they stuck.
Oh.
They just go through. It was like circles all in the top ceiling. So, and he goes, those mouse balls are expensive, you know. We got to go up there and get them, and it was a bad deal.
We can do an entire podcast on Steve Moran.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, we might. You know what? We might bring him in.
Yeah, bring Steve in.
Sit him on our lap right here
Yeah,
with
What's
his cowboy
he-
boots.
Was he a former
Hey,
AD?
we're-
principal.
He opened
Yeah.
the.
He started school. Yeah,
He
98.
hired us both.
Yeah,
It's his fault.
yeah.
Everything
It is.
goes back to Steve Moran. It's your fault. Everything goes back to your
It is.
decision.
It is his
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it was a good decision.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, just to piggyback what Todd said, the older I get and the longer I've been coaching, so I've been head coach for 17 years, and the more I do this, the more I recognize when I have people in the room that have done things or have abilities. I mean, people. I say people. I guess it could be even wrestlers like high school seniors or juniors. When there's talent and there's ability and there's knowledge and there's a base and there's leadership potential. In the past, I was a little less. I should say I was more hesitant to allow assistant coach or a wrestler show stuff or have power to give information. And the older I get, the more I recognize there's 1,000 ways to hit a single leg. But there's 1,000 ways to hit a double leg. There's so many setups that it might be the same message, but just a different preacher. And getting somebody else in here to show some technique or letting a coach run a practice and give them that autonomy to design it and run it. I would say as an assistant coach, as a head coach in my first handful of years, I probably wasn't very good at that. And we could have been a better program and team. And I think I've got to the point where I tell some coaches that I bring in, I don't have any toes. You're not going to step on them. Unless it's a philosophical difference where I don't agree with what you're saying and how it makes the kids feel, or the outcome is, it's going to be different. I usually just let them do it because, again, there's so many ways to do things. So I just want to piggyback because I think as young coaches, if anybody is a coach or just starting or wants to be a coach, understanding it's okay to give up some of that power if they're still on the same, if they still have the same philosophy and the same direction that you want for your program. I mean, it's my program. If Todd loses a football game, it's his fault. Like, it's not his assistant coach's fault. If Billy Gabel loses a tournament or we don't get up to the expectation that everybody else has of us, that's Billy Gabel's fault. And it all falls back on the head coach. So, ultimately, we still have to sort of guide and balance everything. But the older I get, the more I realize, I need to use the assets around me more. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I just thought of a real funny story later. My dad coached for us, or coached for me.
Oh my
Football
gosh.
or baseball?
Football.
Captain
And,
Dick.
He's a character.
I love your dad, dude. I love your dad.
So we're sitting. The old locker room wasn't, or the new locker room wasn't built. It's not new, but the varsity locker room wasn't built. So everybody was in that JV or the locker room there that they use for PE. So we're sitting in there before practice, and we're just talking about the practice plan or whatever. And a kid comes up to the door and knocks on it, and my dad answers it. And he was a freshman football player, and Dad was a freshman football coach. And he goes, "Hey, Coach, I can't be at practice today because I have to go to chess club." As I said, chess club, right?
CHESS.
Yes. Dad shuts the door, and he goes, "What type of school is this that has a sex club?" I said, "Dad, that's not what he said. And he goes, I've heard of everything, but I've never heard of a sex club at a high school. And I go, Dad, he said chess club, not sex club. And then he turns around and proceeds to go, I don't even know why I'm here. They got sex clubs in the high school.
Well, and it's hard to understand his dad because he's from Kentucky. Right? Old school Kentucky. Yeah. It is so thick. Yeah, he's pretty funny. But knowing him,
he thought Facebook was Spacebook. He thought GPS was GFY.
I remember hearing him say that too.
Yeah. He called me up and he said, "Hey Todd," he goes, "I got this thing in my car that tells me where I'm going." I go, "Yeah, it's GPS," and he goes, "No, it's GFY." I'm pretty sure that's electrical.
He's funny.
He's funny.
So did he coach here or
He coached here for about 10 years, and
he was a great coach.
No, he didn't lose. No. I think they won 48 or 50 games straight. Now, I think Don Chapman has beat that, but
no, the kids were scared of him to lose.
Well, he had to have a translator for practice.
Yeah.
Some of the crazy things he said. He goes, we didn't have the lightning thing or the horn where you would have to go off, and he said, "We're not going in until we see thunder and hear lightning." So I mean, he had those sayings.
He
believed it. He believed it.
So he coached here for 10 years?
Yes.
And before that, did he coach you in high school? Or?
He never coached me. He coached my brother. Thank God he never coached me. I mean, there was some old school, man, tough. Just.
Well, he made old school look old.
Yeah, just he was hard on my brother and hard on me, but in retrospect, all those things were good. You know what I mean? He was there, and he's a police officer. He had seen everything, so there wasn't much that surprising. But the expectation was you go hard every time. And
he may be one of my top 5 favorite people.
He's funny.
He's pretty funny.
Funny person.
Good heart.
Good heart.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's gonna come out of his mouth.
We may
here's
not
an example.
want hit to put him on.
There's nothing in the world he loves more than his truck. Loves it, right? This is just recent. This is like 3 months ago. So I wrecked his truck. I'm 51 years old. I was scared to death to tell my dad. Now, it wasn't my fault. I got rear-ended. But still, he loves this more than life itself, right? So he was in the hospital, so I couldn't tell him. He was, and I called my mom to tell her what happened because I couldn't tell him because I was scared. So I had waited about 3 or 4 days, and I went up and saw him in the hospital, and we got in a conversation, and he was talking about something nuts. And then I said, "Hey, Dad, speaking of professionals," I go, "Do you know of a good car body man?" He goes, "Why would I need that?" And I go, "Well, I kind of got in a wreck." And I'm not kidding. He hyperventilated. He went dead silent for about 3 minutes.
Ripped out his catheter. Ripped out his IVs, jumped up on the bed, ready to wrestle Todd.
But he was just dead. And then he wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't. He just sat there and he would not look at me. He would not talk to me. So then I go, seriously, it was 2 minutes of just dead silence. I go, "Well, Dad," I go, "here's silver lining." I go, "No one got hurt." And he looked at me and he goes, "I guess you're right."
He's a trip.
So both of your guys' dad were coaches. Do you think that's kind of changed your coaching style, or have you kind of adopted their style of coaching, or have you made your own?
Well, I think I have an interesting situation. My dad was a head coach for 32 years, but prior to that, he had from I think the age of 6th grade, he had a different coach every year, all the way up until junior college, where he was an All-American for NJC in Sterling. And then he had the same coach for 2 years. So when he started coaching in high school, I think in at 75, he wanted to be consistent. So he went to St. Francis after 1 year in Garden City. He plopped his feet down in St. Francis, Kansas, and he was there for 32 years. So he was a beacon of consistency throughout that time. So, he looking back at his career, his wrestling career, he was like, I got to be consistent with these kids. So 32 years of playing at St. Francis, Kansas. And I think what makes my dad interesting is I would say that a lot of dads can't coach their sons or their daughters. Mostly sons, would be my opinion. Just from what I've seen, a lot of dads have a hard time because you want your son to be so good. You don't want your son to be weak. And especially as a wrestling coach, I look back and the relationship my dad had with me, and he had a great relationship with all his wrestlers. I mean, that's why I believe he's been inducted to 3 Hall of Fames, because of the relationship. The relationship produced the state championships. I mean, St. Francis has had 15 state titles over the years, and my dad was 6 of those. And I just watched how he connected with me, and the relationship we had through the coaching. I saw he was hard on us. He wasn't easy. They were hard. His practices were harder than college practices. So but I saw the love. I saw he cared. I saw he would always sit down and he would just say the right things, encourage things. I remember the last time I lost in high school, I'm over just feeling sorry for myself in the corner, and he walks up, and it was my sophomore year of league. He sits down next to me and he says, "Are you ready to listen?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Well, you haven't been doing the stuff before practice. You haven't been doing the ropes. You haven't been doing this. You haven't been doing that. You did not earn this win. If you want to win the state title this year and in the years to come and continue to strive for your goal of winning 4, you better fix that now." I said, "Yes, sir," and I fixed it. He was able to have a conversation with me in the moment right after losing, and a lot of son and dads can't do that. They have to let their kids cool down. So I watched that, and I think I've done a good job of developing that, reaching into the heart and the character of a kid and sort of pulling that out. I have my struggles, but watching that, absolutely. I believe wholeheartedly that coaching is a ministry to pour into the lives of the hearts. I just had a conversation with my club coaches and just telling them, listen, if you miss the opportunity to pour into this kid's life, some of these kids don't have dads. Like, they do have dads, but they're not present. And if you miss the opportunity to pour into a kid from a father-dad perspective, you're missing the boat on coaching. Technique, winning things, that's all bonus. But the interaction with the heart and the character of a kid and an athlete, some of the times that you're the most vulnerable are a loss. Like, I think you very, very rarely learn from winning. I think you 90% of the time learn from losing because it hurts. And if it doesn't hurt, you probably shouldn't do athletics. So, I just think as coaches, I've developed that because I watched my dad do it. I watched Steve Jenkins do it. I watched Hoagie Carmichael do it. I watched a couple of my college coaches do it. I watched men around me pour and love on these kids. So I would say all those things, and probably a lot of my faith too, based on the drive inside me to reach into kids' hearts. I think that's all wrapped into why I feel like coaching's the niche for me, and I feel like I've had some decent success.
Did you say your dad wrestled in college?
Yeah, he was an All-American for UNC, and they wrestled last 2 years for Greeley.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, he was All-American for NJC, 4th in the country, and then he wrestled for the Bears, UNC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he loved it up there. And that's where he met my mom. She was a cheerleader. Good job, Dad. Miss North Glen. She was Miss North Glen High School. Didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not.
North Glen Vikings.
1969.
Or the Nordsmen. What are
Nords. Is it Nords? Nords.
North Glen.
North Glen Nords.
I pride myself on knowing mascots.
Oh, it's unbelievable. We could do an entire podcast on that. You could ask him any mascot in the country.
I'm starting to lose it a little bit, but I used to be pretty good.
You're pretty good. What about your coaching? What?
Regards to what?
Well, your
whatever
dad-
level.
Oh, yeah. So in regards to my father having influence on my coaching,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
Sometimes
yes.
you gotta jog my memory. a
See,
little
that's good memory.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the most influential person in my life. Period. Just because.
Other than me.
Other than Billy. Just because he was there, right? And he was there by my side, and I think the biggest thing that he let me do, he let me fail, and then pick the pieces up.
So I know you said he wasn't your. Did he coach before that?
So he
or-
coached me like youth growing up. So he was a. So Indiana's a little different. You play Cub football. I don't know why they call it Cub football, but you play your 8th grade football for your high school. But you're not in high school. So they would bus them in from the whatever middle school that they were attended. They would bus them to their local high school, and you played for them. Well, he was a Cub football coach, I want to say at North High School for half a dozen years, and JV coach. So, and he coached my brother. And I played Cup football at North, and they had a coaching change at that time. And he did not coach. He had stepped away for a year. And then I had went to a private school, and so he just stepped back, and he let me be kind of my own man. But he never coached me in football. He did in baseball, and he never coached me in basketball. But I always had really good coaches, and he was always there, and he put his 2 cents in for sure. But yeah, he even coached baseball for my brother, so kind of my brother got the brunt end of it, and I didn't as much.
Is your brother younger than you?
He's
or-
older than me, 6 years older.
Okay, so your dad coached for him and then kind of
Backed off a little bit, yeah. And he had switched jobs. So he was a police officer, and then he had switched jobs, and they had swing shifts. So he went from first to second to third, and it just almost became impossible for him to.
That's
coach,
my other
coach.
favorite person, Brad Miller.
That's your favorite
He
person?
might be one of my top favorite people. I love Brad Miller.
He's a good dude.
Brad
That's
is
my
a-
brother.
Brad is a good dude.
Yeah. He got some good stories.
He goes.
a bunch of people that should come into the podcast, I guess.
I know.
Oh, buddy.
He's just salty with a good guy.
Yeah. There's some crazy stuff, man.
You know, I got to throw this in here because I just got to think about listening to Todd and, again, just processing. I would have to say that as much of a coach as my dad was, I think my mom was probably as good a coach behind the scenes. I got to thinking about Sue, his mom, and she's like the same thing. I watch her because she's the encourager. She's behind the scenes,
very much
loving
so,
everything.
yeah.
She's like, I got to clean up Dick's mess.
Right.
He just like she's the one that fixes everything. And same with my mom. And my mom, when my dad couldn't take me to tournaments, my mom was flying to Vegas with us. She's flying to Florida with us for all these tournaments. She's trying to figure out how to get directions to these wrestling tournaments and figure things out. And behind the scenes, I just remember my mom was always praying for me, for my family. She was always loving on us. She was always, oh, it's okay. She was always the encourager. And she probably was the backbone for my dad being as successful as he is, too. And I would say that probably Sue was the same to your
Yeah,
dad.
it's support staff, right? I mean, for someone to be great, you got to have someone behind. So as someone always surging forward, you're never alone, and there's always somebody with you. But probably as you, my mom was as intense as anybody in our family. We played in. I had a pony league team, so it was 13 and 14-year-olds.
Cubs and ponies.
Cubs and ponies. Well, that was the name of the baseball league that we played on. It was called Pony, and we had a really good team, and we ended up playing the Pony League World Series. Got beat by Puerto Rico 1-0. We were good. Well, we were playing in Michigan in a tournament to go to the World Series. For whatever reason, I'm on second base. I think there's 2 strikes. There's 1 strike. I think there's 2 outs. Or excuse me. There were 2 outs. So I was correct there. Well, I think it was Mark Showhouse. My buddy was up to bat, and he missed strike, right? So I'm on second base. I think it's strike 3. I take my helmet off and start running to the dugout, like across the infield, right? And everybody was in utter shock, even the other team. They're like, what is this? What is he doing? Right? People on the bench are yelling at me, and you know, like, you get your own world, and you're just like, what are you guys doing? Why are you coming towards me? And so I stop. Like, I'm almost to the dugout, and everybody's screaming. Coach grabs me. Well, they tag me out. And we're getting beat at the time. Well, my mom, she goes, what is he doing? And she threw up. She was so nervous she threw up. And here you go with the story, right? Just intense, right? Just intense and just going, you know, you live through your kids and you feel their pain and you get anxious and you want them to do good. But no one said anything to me. It ended right there, right? So it ended right there. And I was able to redeem myself later on in the game, which I'm thankful for that. But I guess those moments of just being intense, I remember I was pitching in Little League, and I was struggling a little bit, finding the strike zone, and the ump was squeezing me in Little League I thought I had some strikes that weren't, you know, being called, so my body language probably wasn't the best. Well, she got right behind home plate and gave the ump the what for an inning and a half. And I mean, on him. And, you know, she wouldn't say a naughty thing if her life depended on it, but, you know, kind of like your mom. She'd do anything in the world for just about anybody, but really for her family.
Mama hen.
Yeah.
I'm in the front room. This is funny.
Neville, right now you're in a tsunami of stories.
Dude,
just ride it. Big kahuna.
Dude, my mom's like 125 pounds, 5 foot. Like,
Maybe.
She's tiny.
Maybe
like 120. And she's just tiny, but she's a strong, powerful ball of muscle, right? She's just strong. That's where I get it from. Sorry, Dad, that's from. Anyway, so I hear this yelling in their bedroom, just yelling. And I run in there, and my mom is on top of my sister, who's 3 years older than me. I think my sister may be a freshman in college or a senior in high school. And my mom's on top of her with the legs in, like both hooks in. And she flips her over, and she's got the scissors on Brandy's belly. And I thought they're just playing around. And my mom's squeezing her brain. She's like, ah! And she's screaming, she's yelling, let me go. My mom's like, don't you ever talk to me that way. And she's scissoring Brandy's body. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think she's going to make her throw up. That's my story. That's pretty good. So
what did they get into it about?
I don't know, Brandy.
You still don't know?
Well, Brandy probably sassed her, and my mom just had enough.
Yeah. That happens.
Yeah.
Corporal punishment.
What's the next one?
All right, so to kind of segue into the next segment, kind of your coaching, like what would you do, what would you change, and that's going to kind of go into
the good, the bad, the ugly
the
of
good,
your
the
coaching?
bad, the ugly, yep. So, Coach Gabel, you have an ugly story, I assume, yes?
Well, okay. I have a lot of coaches' ugly stories, but I'd rather tell like a personal one. So Todd and I have known each other for 22 years. We've done a lot of stuff together. Had business together. We've mitigated. We've stained fences, decks.
Painted houses.
Painted inside houses. Well, this is a better ugly. I like this one better. Okay, so maybe I should. Well, so Todd and I get this contract. We're painting this house, and we go in the garage, and there's maggots and trash everywhere. Like, it's bad, right? Nobody's taking care of this house forever. I think they were squatters. We go in the basement, and we're supposed to paint this wall. And, it had the popcorn ceiling stuff. Mm-hmm. They had a popcorn wall. We walked up to it. It looked like a popcorn wall. And when we got closer to it, it was popcorn boogers. It was, I bet you they had 50 children down there just doing this constantly on the wall. It was so bad. It looked like popcorn ceiling on the wall.
Burger collection.
We looked at each other and we're like, well, it actually looks, the texture looks good.
Painted over it.
Painted over it. It looked amazing.
Never knew.
I mean, the weird thing is you never got a job after that.
Nah. Yeah. But I mean, that was unsanitary. That was ugly and gross.
What neighborhood was this in?
I'm not going to tell you.
Can't say.
It might have been the house you're living in. All right, what's your good?
I have a lot of good. My voice just went real high there. I have a lot of good. I guess as a player and coach, those 4 state championships that there was a lot of good involved in that. But then I think just there's some seasons where it's a relief to get it over. There's some seasons where you want more, and then there's some seasons where you get to that point and you're just like, we've reached our peak. This is it. You know what I mean? And that's always a kind of a good feeling of just being able to run the course, run the journey with a team. Each team is different. Each year is different, and there's always good in that, right? And I think that's always a good thing that happens as a coach, is that being able to go to the end of the season and look back. But I think the best thing is when you get a text message or an email here and there from an ex-player or a former player, a former Eagle, that just says, hey, thank you. And that's always good. And that kind of picks you up and gets you in the right position and kind of grounds you a little bit, that you're kind of judged by your wins and your losses. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, what are these guys when they get into the community? What are they? Who are they? And I think that's the good part of coaching, when you get that positive feedback.
100%.
So kind of now to go on to our next segment, seriously not a stupid question, so let's get that running.
Bring it on, baby.
This is from Ethan. He is a senior. What was the hardest thing about playing college sports?
Good job, Ethan. You want to handle that first? Go ahead.
Every day. It wasn't.
Uh-huh.
It was the longevity of it, right? So it was just every freaking day, and we didn't have a time limit like they do now. I think it's 20 hours or maybe 24 hours a week they could do it. We were going, man, and 7 days a week. I mean, we weren't in the spring, but it was just the grind every single day. And that's what, we always have a saying is, it never gets any easier, and they can't do 2-a-days now. We did 3-a-days. So when you say you walk uphill backwards in the snow, we did it. And that's a true story. We went at 5:30 in the morning. We came back at noon, and then we came back at 7, at 6. And 3 practices, full padded, and it was kind of survival of the fittest, and you went at it. And then, once the season got going, it was kind of a reprieve a little bit. The coaches backed off, and then it ends. You go home for 2 or 3 weeks, and you get back in January, and it all starts over again. I had a class in college where I got credit for. It was 7-on-7.
So like a flag football league, or?
Well, no, you just against it was all your teammates.
We took a class from Tom Osborne.
You did?
When I was in Nebraska, yeah.
That's awesome.
Coaching.
Yeah.
That's huge, huh?
Yeah. So I guess it's every day. I can't even say one thing. We did some stupid things, but there wasn't one thing that was harder than the next.
Well, if you think about it, college there, you have a scholarship. They are paying you to be there. Like that's your job. So if you don't perform at your job, they'll get somebody else to replace you. If you can find the fun and joy. I mean, what I got out of it was friendships. My biggest mistake was not going to one place and staying there the whole time. I have some great friendships from Nebraska. Brad Cooper is one of my best friends. Still really close to them. And there's some other guys. Great relationships from that, right? I have some great relationships from Oklahoma State. But coaches and peers at the time, but not being there 5 years, that sort of cost me a little bit because I like to go both places. But I would say, with Todd is you have to be ready for the next level. You have to be willing to put in the extra work. Nobody gets to the top by just giving 80%. Like you give 100% and you got to borrow 10% from somewhere else to add it on. Right? So, but if you have to be wired different too. Find the joy and the love in that.
So next question is from Bo. He's a junior.
What's up, Bo?
What are the odds that chimpanzees take over the world?
99%.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go fairly unlikely.
They are pretty smart.
They are pretty smart. Matter of fact, I really like watching monkey videos.
I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm not even going to comment on that.
Okay, so next question, I guess. From Presley, she's a junior, or a P. What question do you want, or how do you solve world hunger?
Produce more food. I mean, there's a lot of simple solutions. America throws away enough food that we can feed the rest of the world, right? So, I mean, it's just a matter of, can people's greed get out of the way of doing what's responsible, right?
Well,
so right now, there's enough resources out there to feed every human being. Yes? No?
Well,
I would say yes.
Well, they say our world is overpopulated, but you can fit the entire population of the world in
Jacksonville, Florida.
inside the city limits of Jacksonville, Florida. So, we can. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of food thrown away.
Yeah, I think right now the resources are there to feed every person. It's just a matter of getting through all the.
Well, there's not a lot of things I won't eat. I mean, that's why I gained my weight, right?
Right.
So you can't be picky and then starve to death.
Right.
So it's kind of like the legality of things.
I think so.
Possibly. That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Good job, Presley.
I think we solved it. It's there.
Well, maybe they should listen to this podcast.
Maybe they should.
If they want to get smarter, they will.
Oh, buddy.
All right, and then one more question.
One more question. Let's go.
All right, from Alyssa, she's a freshman. What's your biggest failure and what have you learned from it?
Biggest failure.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Aye.
Biggest failure.
I got a lot of them, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of failures.
See, there's failures as a man. There's failures as a boy, as a man,
as a coach, as a father.
Let's go.
Biggest failure.
As like maybe like in high school.
Yeah. Like mistake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my biggest failure. I was a terrible student, like bad, and I wish. And I failed a couple classes. I wish I would have taken my studies more seriously. And it's not, I wouldn't say a failure. Yeah, it was a failure. I didn't achieve my best there. And I think, looking back on that, I took some shortcuts, a lot of shortcuts. And the only person I was cheating was myself. I love sports, and that's why I did it. And now, I had a lot of fun in high school, like in the school. I loved going to school because we were always joking around and doing
things
stuff.
you get suspended for today.
Yeah, and, it didn't happen there. And, but as a student, I wish that I just would have taken that a little more seriously and kind of went after that. Now, I did as I got older. At college, I changed. And here's I tell you what changed me. The principal brought me in, and I'm not making this up. He brought me in. He goes, "Why are you going to college?" I go, "Why are you asking me?" He goes, "Because you're wasting everybody's time." I go, "Okay."
Nice.
So when I graduated, I brought my diploma from college back and said, "Mr. Adams, see?" So that was, it kind of motivated me a little bit.
That's interesting. I would say probably mine the same. Like, I didn't start actually applying myself so maybe my junior year in high school.
To your academics?
Yeah, I mean, I did enough to get a 3.0, but I just didn't apply myself. I mean, I got 2
3 points better than what I got.
I got 2 master's degrees now because I got out of college and I'm like, maybe I should apply myself more. But Coach Jenkins, my favorite word is facetious. Only word in English dictionary. All the vowels in order from front to back and subcontinental. Vowels from back to forward. Just a long time ago. He was my teacher. He was my dad's assistant wrestling coach, Steve Jenkins. He was my teacher. It was actually one of his classes I realized, because I really liked him and respected him, so I tried hard in his class. And after 2 weeks of being in his class, and I had some brainiacs in my class. I had some
at St. Francis?
4.0 all-state running back from St. Francis went to School of Mines 4.0. Like Brian Davis, smart guy. Amy Zweigert, smart girl. We had a lot of smart kids in our class. And in the first 2 weeks, I had the best grade in class. I'm like, what? I think Steve Jenkins sort of messed with this and just put my name at the top just for fun. But I after seeing I could compete academically, a little bit, I started trying harder, and I think I kept that spot for maybe another day. That's
There
about
you go.
it. But
There
actually,
you go.
that little thing motivated me to actually push harder. So, yeah.
So focus or go hard on academics.
Yeah, yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
You have to do it anyway, so do it as hard as you can.
Right.
So now for the final segment, idiotic quote of the week. What you guys got?
Oh, I got one. I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining why I'm right.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's the quote my wife gives me all the time.
Get them before they get you.
Good to know. Good to know.
Always be on the attack.
Always.
Well, that should wrap it up, guys. Pretty good podcast, and thank you for coming
Hey,
out.
thank you
Thank
guys
you,
for
Neville.
tuning in to the last one. Hope you guys enjoy it. Keep subscribing. Push the like button. Push the like button. Subscribe and pass it on.
All the good things to do. Yep.
Nice job, Neville.
Thank you.